There is a chance that some creatures considered to be extinct have been seen in some oceans and lakes of our planet. From plesiosaurs to the great Megalodon, these are 5 prehistoric sea monsters that could still live. Number 5. The monster of Lake Iliamna. Lake Iliamna has a long-standing history of having monsters of the deep in its midst. Interestingly, reports of this particular creature date back centuries and describe it as a massive creature that would attack men. In fact, the earliest reports of a monster living in the lake came from the native Tlingit people, who tell stories of a creature referred to as the Ganakadet. It was described as a large, water-dwelling animal with a head and tail similar to that of a wolf and body like an orca. Other early reports of the monster came from the native Aleut people, who tell stories of creatures they call the Jigiknak. The fish-like monsters were reported to travel in groups and attack canoes and kill warriors. Nowadays, the monster has become known as Ili, although opinions vary as to what the creature actually is. Some think it's just a giant fish. Others believe it's something more unusual, a survivor from a prehistoric age or a still undiscovered aquatic species. Over the years, this lake monster has gained enough attention to lure the Animal Planet show river monsters in an attempt to find out what may be hiding beneath the lake's waters. Its presenters and biologist Jeremy Wade has proposed some theories to explain what might lie beneath the waters of Lake Iliamna. He determined that the monster may not be a monster at all, but a white sturgeon, which is indigenous to areas of Alaska and the Pacific states. The sturgeon would explain why sightings are rare. Additionally, catching them is considered a tough sport by many fishermen. Both of these ideas validate the theory. Although the white sturgeon is found in Alaska and much of the Pacific Northwest, there is no evidence of the white sturgeon residing in Lake Iliamna. Maybe time will reveal us this mystery. Number 4. The monster of Ambungi Island. One veritable hotspot of such sightings comes from a remote island here, where a creature was seen in the murky water at a place called Ambungi Island, a sparsely inhabited patch of land which lies just south of the south coast of West New Britain and which is home to only about 90 people, making it pretty remote to say the least. In 1995, a local man named Alphonse Licky was out spearfishing just offshore in the shallow water when he heard something very large splash behind him and crash into the coral reef nearby. The startled witness looked to see a fully submerged dinosaur with a long neck and tail, short forelimbs, and muscular hind limbs topped with webbed feet like those of a duck. The beast's head was smallish and shaped somewhat like a snake's, and there were dermal ridges down the creature's back and tail, with the entire length estimated as being 4 meters. It was described as swimming at a slow, leisurely pace, completely underwater, making its way to the entrance of an underwater cave before slipping down into the gloom. The terrified spear fisherman claimed he had quickly swum up back to his canoe and got out of there as fast as he could. What sort of creature was this? Number 3. Georgia's Presiosaurus. Jeff Warren and his son were walking along the beach at Wolf Island Natural Park in Golden Isles, Georgia, United States, when they found out a strange dead creature. According to the local news channel Action News Jax, at first they thought it was a dead cow. However, as they got closer, they noticed it was an animal similar to the Loch Ness Monster. As it can be seen in the following video, the strange creature is 5 foot long, 1.5 meters, although its actual size is probably 1.6 feet, 0.5 meters. Its elongated neck, large fins, and long tail inevitably evoke the image of a plesiosaur. Jason Lee, program manager for the Georgia Department of Natural Resource Conservation section, said he was surprised by the discovery. "It's definitely interesting," told Lee on the Live Science website. "It seems that a strange creature has appeared on one of our local islands. It is a small animal or part of one even larger." Lee said the creature's tail resembles that of an eel shark, a living deep-sea fossil that has rows of pointed teeth. If it were an eel shark, then it would probably be a young and decapitated specimen because it is too small. But the marine fauna expert also acknowledged that his theory is difficult to verify. It would have been easier to identify the strange creature if Warren had taken some photos from different perspectives rather than a single photo and video taken from the same angle. It would also have helped the identification process if the man who found the animal had guarded it or had taken a sample for later DNA analysis. Number 2. Megalodon. The seas of Australia have produced some weird unidentified creatures as well, with one being perhaps the massive prehistoric shark shown as the Megalodon. Measuring up to an estimated 18 meters, 59 feet in length, and possessing formidable teeth around 7 inches, 18 centimeters long, this incredible shark is considered to be the largest, most powerful predatory fish to have ever lived. Although it is thought to have gone extinct around 2.6 million years ago, there have been sightings into modern times suggesting a surviving relic population. In 1918, there was one such sighting near Port Stephens, New South Wales, which was said to be a truly monstrous shark measuring over 100 feet in length, 30 meters. The incident was recounted by the Australian naturalist David Stead as follows. In the year 1918, I recorded the sensation that had been caused among the outside crayfish men at Port Stephens when for several days they refused to go to sea to their regular fishing grounds in the vicinity of Broughton Island. The men had been at work on the fishing grounds, which lie in deep water, when an immense shark of almost unbelievable proportions put in an appearance, lifting pot after pot containing many crayfishes and taking, as the men said, pots, mooring lines, and all. These crayfish pots, it should be mentioned, were about 3 feet 6 inches, 1.06 meters in diameter, and frequently contained from 2 to 3 dozen good-sized crayfish, each weighing several pounds. The men were all unanimous that this shark was something the like of which they had never dreamed of. In company with the local fisheries inspector, I questioned many of the men very closely, and they all agreed as to the gigantic stature of the beast. But the lengths they gave were, on the whole, absurd. I mention them, however, as an indication of the state of mind which this unusual giant had thrown them into. And bear in mind that these were men who were used to the sea and all sorts of weather and all sorts of sharks as well. One of the crew said the shark was 300 feet, 90 meters long at least. Others said it was as long as the wharf on which we stood, about 115 feet, 35 meters. They affirmed that the water boiled over a large space when the fish swam past. They were all familiar with whales, which they had often seen passing at sea, but this was a vast shark. They had seen its terrible head, which was at least as long as the roof of the wharf shed at Nelson Bay, impossible of course. But these were prosaic and rather stolid men, not given to fish stories, nor even to talk about their catches. Further, they knew that the person they were talking to, myself, had heard all the fish stories years before. One of the things that impressed me was that they all agreed as to the ghostly whitish color of the vast fish. The local fisheries inspector of the time, Mr. Patent, agreed with me that it must have been something really gigantic to put these experienced men into such a state of fear and panic. Was this report a hoax, an exaggeration, or an actual surviving megalodon? Considering the extreme sizes reported, it seems like this beast would be far larger than even the largest megalodon, so it is hard to tell just what these men could have seen. Considering that such reports at the time were often peppered with elements of exaggeration and downright fiction, it is nearly impossible to say, and this account will likely remain just a historic anomaly. All that is certain is that if it was real, it was a damn big shark. What are we to make of such strange accounts as we have looked at here? It seems clear that Australia is a wild land with plenty of mysteries left to explore. Number 1. Prehistoric Whales. Giglioli's whale, also known as Amphiptera pacifica, is a purported species of whale observed by the young naturalist Enrico Hillier Giglioli. It is said it has 2 dorsal fins, a feature which no known whales have. Everything started on September 4, 1967, on board a ship called Magenta, about 1,200 miles, 1,930 kilometers off the coast of Chile, when the zoologist spotted a species of whale which he could not recognize. It was extremely close to the ship and was observed for a quarter of an hour, allowing him to take a precise look. The whale looked like a rorqual. but the most notable difference was the presence of 2 large dorsal fins, about 6.6 feet, 2 meters apart. Other unusual features included the presence of 2 long sickle-shaped flippers and a lack of throat pleats. Another report of a 2-finned whale of roughly the same size was recorded from the ship Lily off the coast of Scotland the following year. In 1983, between Corsica and the French mainland, French zoologist Jacques Maigret cited a similar-looking creature. Although it has not been proven to exist, it was given a classification by Giglioli. It is possible that the whale may have been a genetic mutation, because given the species' alleged size and attributes, it is extremely doubtful such a species would not have been reported by modern commercial whalers. However, many new species of whales have been discovered in recent years, many of them just from carcasses, for instance the Basilosaurus. In recent years, this animal has become the primary focus of several cryptozoology researchers who theorize that the animal may be responsible for some modern reports of lake monsters and sea serpents. While the last Basilosaurus fossil came from rock layers that are around 33.9 million years old, it's not a terrible concept to think it could have survived past that time and into the modern times. Although this is most likely not the case, as most skeptical minds and paleontologists, due to the fact Basilosaurus went extinct during the Eocene-Oligocene event, which likely made food stocks very hard for the whale, and environmental changes are not healthy for specialized creatures. Oceans, seas, lakes, rivers. They are all home to numerous mysteries that human beings will never explain. And that's what gives life sense, because what is life without mystery? If you want to know more incredible stories about other sea monsters that haunt our seas and oceans, we recommend that you take a look at this video.